And we're live in three, two, one.
What's up, everybody? It is another episode of The Affair. It is finale eve, ninth episode. We're going to talk about it because we're feeling a little crazy. Let's get it.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh, he's got right on it. Hey. I know. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And we don't know where we can get this, right?
YouTube.
Oh, right. We can't download it.
We're gonna record it on our phones from YouTube. Make it our ringtone.
Hey. I mean, really, this is like grocery shopping music. Like you should. If you,
this is grocery shopping music.
I'm just saying, this would help me get all my.
What grocery store do you go to?
Turn up grocery store.
Right. I need to go there.
It's a special grocery store. What's up, everybody? You know what it is? Another episode of The Affair. Episode 9, finale eve, as I mentioned before. Alison is over here, thumbs down. We're just confused. And, maybe people in the live chat can help us because we're really, feeling some kind of way. But we're going to talk about it. I'm your host, Lem Gonsalves. And as always, you can find me at The Poet Saint. Next to me is the amazing ladies.
That's good. You don't ever change The Poet Saint. You can always find you there.
Always.
What do you mean, as opposed to what?
Somewhere else.
My apartment? You want me to get my address? I can find me, actually. No, where?
I'm laughing at your emphasis. I like it, though.
Oh, I mean, I just try to keep it whatever.
Keep it grocery store,
grocery
techno,
store
music,
right? Grocery store
vibes.
tech, because that's what I do. Grocery store techno. And this is
like
what it is. Directly next to me is the incomparable Alison Dean.
That's me. You can find me everywhere at the Alison Dean.
And of course, on the anchor is the amazing and talented and amazing.
Whoa, now he's giving you way more than
amazing.
I had to get to amazing.
I'm so happy.
It's April Whisenhant.
Hi, everybody. Y'all can find me everywhere, always at April Whisenhant.
You should have won.
I'm gonna lead with that every time now.
Always.
Always. I mean, I just want to let the people know.
That was amazing. It was the best.
No, we tried. All right, so let's get into this malarkey that is in front of us.
Whoa.
So we have Helen and Noah again, and I think Helen's portion, just as an overview, was a lot more digestible. I think that there were some things that I appreciated that came out with that. I still hate her parents, and I always will hate her parents. Always, especially her mother, is the worst. Can't stand her.
Hate her even more now.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Didn't think it was possible.
Right. With Noah's version, a little more spacey.
Dark.
And unorganized and
brooding.
However, when we get there, I do have. I was really kind of excited, just maybe because I made some sense, or at least I feel like I did. That I have an epiphany about what happened to him in prison.
Can you just go ahead and tell us now?
Yeah,
Really?
please, Lem,
Yeah.
please. Just
Okay.
let us, because
Well, you might already think this.
I don't think so. I don't think I think
Okay,
anything.
so I think, and this is especially after him going to visit Gunther at his home with his wife and his son, I believe that all the stuff that happened in prison never happened.
Such good timing.
That was great.
That was so
great.
perfect.
Shout out to our engineer.
Right.
Yes, that's what I believe.
It definitely seems that way.
But then what do you mean? What do you mean everything didn't happen?
Okay, so basically
All the stuff with Gunther.
all the stuff with Gunther. So, we see the flashbacks, right? And we see how Gunther just tortured him, right? In prison. Those 3 years, just, for various reasons, right? So many things happen to him, and then he comes out and he's really, now he feels like he sees Gunther, right? Everywhere, all over the place. But as these things are happening, you're like, I don't think these things are happening. I really don't think these are happening. And so when we see the flashback tonight and we see how there's the portion where he starts talking about his mother. And we do know, based on his version from several episodes ago, that he did assist in the suicide of his mother. right? We do
Right.
know that for sure. So,
Yeah.
but this is something that Gunther is supposedly reading out of his manuscript, which he didn't write. But of course, he's saying these things. How else would he know these things? He's like, you weren't there, you don't know. But he's saying these things, and then we see there's portions where he tries to lunge at Gunther, he's not there. He's the other side of the
his
jail,
shoulder.
right? Hits his shoulder, not there. And then even the whole thing for me is when I was like, aha, is when, we see at the end where he stabs himself, where he comes to the epiphany that, oh, I didn't get stabbed, I stabbed myself, and then he breaks down.
Right.
So I feel like that being said, all the stuff in prison did not happen.
Yeah. I would just like to point out that who did say from the beginning that he stabbed himself. I don't know if it was me, but I think it was. Anyway, no, I agree with you, but then I'm like, where did this guy Gunther just come from?
Well, okay, so I have a situation with that. So
Okay.
we know that he is sort of connected to his childhood, right?
Right.
When in high school with the whole swim thing. And he was a guard there. We do know for sure. And that's been, because when he went to visit his mother and bought the knife, she kind of explained those things and even found out where he was. So I believe that he was, because when he goes to his house, he recognized him. He's like, oh, Soloway, what are you doing here? Like, and he was shocked. He was like, what's going on? And of course, Noah's going crazy. Like, you were at my house last night. He pulls out the knife. Sorry.
No, great.
Just how I feel. But he does all this stuff. And Gunther's like, what is, he's like really tripping. And it's not like tripping like psychopath tripping like, I didn't do these things.
It's like, whoa,
it's
what
like,
are you
dude,
doing here?
you trip out. And he's like trying to hold him from hurting himself almost, not less him. And so I feel like, that being said, he was there at the prison. Yes, he was his guard, but he had nothing to do with any of these things. And I think he's making the connection because Gunther is from that area. And where he killed his mother. Remember when he goes back and he tells his son what he did at that, I was the same episode or the episode before is when he finds out more about Gunther with his friends. The one friend that came that was hating on him, like, what you doing back over here? And
Right.
blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. So I feel like all of that, when he went back, and even the drowning, how he's drowning his own self, his younger self, when he's doing the flashback. So I feel like all of that is culminated because of what he did to his mother. And so now he feels that, and they're bringing this up, I feel, and I may be stretching, but they're bringing this up because he really feels bad about what he did to his mother.
Yeah.
And so therefore it's allowing these things to happen, and even him being in prison for the sake of, just owning up. It was almost like a subconscious thing to where, like, I need to pay for what I did for my mother.
Okay, so while I totally find everything that you said to be possible, and I think that I commend you, Lem, for like pulling all of this together. I really do. But I also will be very upset with the show if this is what they're handing me, because
Okay.
at least in like his conversation with Alison when they were sitting by the fire or whatever, and they were having that like such a heartfelt conversation, it seemed like he understood that he was relinquishing his mother's pain, and while it was certainly a difficult thing for him to do, I don't know, I think that he could accept that she wasn't going to improve, and this was sort of the best that they could make of that situation.
Either way, that would be hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously.
But this is like very extreme to then be like,
Yeah.
okay, well now I'm in prison,
Right.
and this guy Gunther, he's gonna perpetually torment me for something that, I assisted in the suicide of my mother because she was terminally ill. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
It makes those scenes between him and Allison seem so like irrelevant in the grand scheme of the
If
whole
that
season.
was the
It's like,
case.
how is he okay-ish here? And then it's like, wait, now he's having a whole other mental breakdown again, which not to say is not possible.
Right.
I agree with you in the sense of, I think that seeing Gunther at the prison triggered all of these things, but I'm like, something had to make him go crazy.
Like, were they
You know
giving
what I
him
mean?
pills in prison? Like, were they
think
medicating him for something?
Something had him go crazy when he got out, is what
No,
you're
no,
saying?
no, no, no. I'm saying when he was in there, which
Something was happening.
he was put in solitary, obviously, for a reason. Solitary, as you know, everyone has probably heard ever can make a person go crazy.
Sure.
But he had to do something to get him in there. So it's like, I get how when he's in there, he could start hearing that, who knows what can
Hallucinating,
happen to a
sure.
person when they've been alone for hours and days and months, however long he's alone for. But it's like something had to make him, it's not just like seeing this random guy. Something had to make him, first of all, get put in solitary. And I don't know. It would just, it's like, wait, so you just created a whole fake season?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say fake season. I mean, I think that's extreme.
Yeah.
But I do believe. I mean, granted, we know this is slated for another season, correct?
Yes,
okay,
for sure.
So, I mean, they have to diverge the storyline, and so I feel like them doing this is bringing more. Because at this point in time in the season, it's called The Affair, but there's no affair going on anymore, right?
The whole thing is just an affair. Like, the whole thing is an affair. It's an affair.
And I appreciate that it's not just, oh, I'm cheating with whatever anymore.
Right.
It's like I appreciate that it's become more than that.
A story.
Right.
But just like I said before we started watching the episode, I'm like, I still don't know what the season is about. And I feel like we got more answers tonight, but in the sense of Noah, I feel like, I'm like, wait, is this whole thing, all the stuff that they're showing us, the Gunther stuff, all the information that we got about his mom, for that last question where Gunther asked him, where we know he didn't ask him because clearly he was just seeing him, why did you have this affair? And it's like, oh, to save my wife. I'm like, wait, you just took away every bit of legitimacy from the first 2 seasons now. I mean, they didn't, but they did. It's just so, like, off.
Okay, so this is, again, what I think what this season is trying to do, whether it's being effective in it. I believe that it's trying to build the backstory between all of the characters.
Absolutely, that's what it's trying to do, for sure.
It's trying to, and all 4 of them, I think, mostly focused on Helen and Noah. But then we see a lot of backstory, some backstory with Alison and what she's been through and what's lead. It's almost like what everyone has been through to lead them to the point of them when we first saw them in episode 1 of season 1. The whole affair happened.
There's a lot of that, yes.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I agree
So,
with you.
and I think that they're doing that, and I mean, they're picking this season to do it. Like I said, whether they're being effective or not, I believe that's what they're trying to do. And with Noah specifically, I think we're seeing what led him to be who he is. It's like the scene going to Helen. And when Helen is there with her parents and she basically spills the beans and says, I can't live a lie no more. I killed Scotty.
Right,
and
we
they're
saw how they reacted to
and
it.
they just went crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they put her in that panic room, which was really bonkers. But prior to that, they were basically saying, they kind of came to this epiphany and said, hey, we feel we've been going to counseling, we've done these things, we feel like we failed you. And we think that basically, lack of a better term, your life sucks because of us.
That was like,
right?
Wow, just that whole scene. I was
Right?
like,
It's crazy.
Whoa.
So I feel like everyone's getting this little backstory as to why they act the way they act, and why they are the way they are, and why these things have happened to them, with not only them, with their families. And that's what I think this season is doing. And I think that's why they're trying to shed more light. Whether, again, we like that as viewers or not, I strongly believe that's what they're trying to do. And then set up for season 4.
Set up for the next affair.
Exactly.
Because it looks like Cole's about to
do something.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right, without a doubt. I think it's like clearly that's what they're trying to do. Maybe if we didn't know that before, we definitely know that now.
Right.
And I think in other areas it's succeeded. Now, this is not to say I haven't enjoyed it. I love the show.
Sure.
I'm fully enjoying it.
Sure.
But like some of Noah's stuff is just like
heavy.
well, and but I like heavy. I like heavy in a show, but it's just like there are so many moving parts and so many different things that I'm like, maybe all of it wasn't necessary. Like even in the preview where we see, not to skip ahead, but like, okay, Juliet comes back next week, and it's like, was her part necessary? Now it doesn't seem so necessary to me, and maybe because we haven't seen her in a few weeks, but it's like so far away, and then to see her in the preview for the finale, it's like, oh, what are you doing here?
Right.
And I definitely fully get, like, okay, because people have obviously, we're human beings. Everyone has a problem with an affair.
Sure.
You think this is wrong. It is wrong, obviously. And so I think that's what they tried to do is, okay, let's show what made these people how they are and why they thought this. But I'm like, I already kind of knew that Noah wanted to save Alison. And I loved getting to know the parts of like the things that happened with he and his mom,
right?
And like exactly what happened with that. But for me personally, some turns have just gone awry, and it's felt like
way left or something.
I mean, that's why when we're watching it, I mean, I can't be the only person who thinks this. When we're watching it, we're all like,
Wait,
what?
No.
I feel like this is probably my least favorite of all the seasons so far.
Well,
And,
I mean, I think hands down. I mean, I've even talked to people who are now binge watching from season 1, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, show's amazing!" I was like, "Okay." I said,
You gotta say, get through season 3 at this point.
Basically, it's like first and second season are dope, but third season, just be ready for a little bit of a shake up.
Slow down.
Right.
I
A little
hate to
slow
say
down.
that because the writers are amazing.
Right.
It is amazing writing. It's just such like a season 1,
180.
season 2 is here, season
Right.
3 is here.
And I think too. I mean, you can look at other series that are successful, and I believe that a lot of them have their lulls.
Absolutely, they do.
And I
100%.
think, right. And I
yes.
think that's where, because I think too. I mean, I'm not a
Except for Game
producer
of
or a
Thrones.
writer in television.
Sure.
But just from what what I do know, and I do have friends that are in production and things of that nature, you get a season and maybe you get, okay, we have 2 seasons, right? You're slated for 2 seasons. So then you write those 2 seasons and they're amazing. And then it's like, hey, we want to do another season. You're like, okay. Where do we go from here?
I don't
Do you
think
see
that's what
saying?
happened with this, but I get how.
I'm not saying
yeah.
that's what, but I'm saying that sometimes is the case.
Yeah.
In some programming. With this though, I believe that the writers are setting us up for a bigger picture for season 4.
I don't disagree with you.
Yes.
I believe that's what they're doing.
I look forward to whatever that is, though,
Right.
because
Yeah.
I'm like, let's just get us there. Because the only saving grace for me for this season is the stuff going on between Cole and Allison.
That's the saving grace for you.
It's kind of the saving grace for me.
Yeah.
But not to say that I haven't enjoyed other parts, like especially tonight. Helen, y'all know how I feel about Helen, but I was like, oh, I love you, girl, tonight. Like, finally, I love you.
You know me and Helen.
And then I did, probably my favorite moment of the season, though, still, I mean, we're not at finale, but was the talk between Noah and Allison.
That was a good one.
Because that is ultimately what I want the show to end up being about. Just me, not
Just
I
because
love
of the way
the other
that still
parts.
started.
Probably, but I do love, of course, the other characters, but I'm like, they're so far away from how it even started, which I've read many interviews and, whether it's the writers or cast members or whatever talking about that this show is greater than The Affair, and I want that. You see too many shows, like they focus on one thing, and then how many times can you redo that?
Right,
Like it
right.
goes bad.
Right.
But it's so, like, we got like what? A few scenes between the two of them together. It's just so far off from what it originally was, which I think they're trying to, or they're obviously trying to do. But I'm like, I need some sort of like circle.
Well, see, and I think really, honestly, I don't think that they're going to do that, and I think that's why.
But it's like 2
they
separate
haven't-
shows if they don't. It
well,
really is. It's like
I mean, I
Helen and
think-
Noah, Cole and Allison. It's one week it's about this person or about these people. One week is about these people. I don't think they want it to seem like 2 separate shows.
Well, no, they don't. No, they don't. I'm saying there's going to be some intertwine, and I think that they have done that spot line. If you look at, Helen and Allison talking, those are times that the 2 worlds collide.
Yeah.
There's been a couple other moments, not as much as we've seen in the previous 2 seasons, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they're ever, and I've said this before, I don't think that we will see Noah and Allison ever again in any type of intimacy.
This is
I
the
will
first
be
day.
so upset if that happens.
This is the first date, Lem, that I concur with you.
What, this is it?
Well, in the sense of for Noah and Allison together, I feel very certain.
You make it seem like you never agreed with me before.
on this topic, because
on
on
this
this
topic.
specific
She hasn't.
topic, I have not agreed with you ever before, right?
No, she definitely
I have
has not.
never agreed with you on this. I've always been like, they're going to come together on this Lem,
it.
on this topic.
I got it.
And for whatever reason, tonight was the night where I was like, I don't think they're coming back together.
Because how would they bring them back together?
Right, exactly.
What would be I definitely thought it after the episodes where they had the fire episode. The fire, I'm thinking like they're sitting by the fire. You know what I'm talking about?
Episode.
When they're sitting by the fire, it's like, oh, you have this 1,000%. But it's like, how can they bring them back at this point? There are still ways.
I mean,
But-
it's not improbable, right?
I just think
It
it would
could
be
happen.
so weird.
They're just
I just
different-
think, I
they're
just
different
think,
people.
but
At
the
this point?
trajectory that they're taking the show, it does not seem like it would fit
Nope.
with the storyline.
Which is why it'd be so much better if they did.
I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm like really rooting for Cole and Allison now. I don't
But
know
what
why.
are you rooting for Helen and Noah? Not them to be
I'm
together.
not. No, I'm definitely not. I think that Noah.
Well, I am.
I
You
think
are. You still are.
I still am.
Even
Only-
after tonight with all the stuff with Vic.
Noah's like on an island
Yes,
right now.
Yes.
No, yeah, Noah. Clearly, Noah is just
Noah
having
is
his
to-
issues.
and I think right.
Can we just say, kids, don't do drugs? If
My
anything
gosh.
ever proved
Wow.
it, or not just kids, nobody do drugs.
Nobody do
Like, I
drugs.
mean, we've had an entire season of hallucinations. We don't know if this is real or if this is not real because he hurt himself in prison /
Right.
now, but he wasn't on drugs then. That's the thing that makes it confusing.
Or was he?
He
we
wa-
don't. I mean, we don't know what kind of. Once he had that injury with his shoulder,
But it
they
seemed
might have
like-
been giving him meds in prison for
But
that.
didn't it seem like tonight is where they showed us where he injured himself? I mean, they showed us hitting him hitting his
Right,
shoulder
on the wall.
against the thing twice. And I was like, oh, is this where it actually
then him
happened? Did
stabbing
Gunther
himself.
not actually body slam him
Well, that's
like we
why
saw
I was saying
before?
before why I don't think the stuff between him and Gunther.
Actually
I think he
happened, right.
actually, superimposed
This
that in
is
his
so
mind,
weird.
and he was self-afflicting or self-doing stuff to himself.
Yeah.
In prison, hurting himself, whatever. And I think that is, but blaming it on that.
But what triggered it? That's my...
the mother stuff.
Oh, yes, but like what? Just seeing this person
Well, I
triggered
mean,
it? Maybe.
so,
That's
okay.
definitely possible.
Well,
obviously.
I think it could have been the situation with him being, like you said, in solitary confinement. When you're solitary
But what
confinement,
got
you're
him
just
in
there.
there?
Well, hold on.
Okay.
I don't think what got him in there is as important as why he was in there. If he was in there, he had this time to think about all of these things over his life, right? And that's where I think the whole mother situation came up because we had never heard that before. That had never been brought up before at all. We heard about his dad. We knew that him and his dad relationship wasn't that great. Of course, then his dad passes away, and then all of that with his sister and everything. We find out more about that situation, but never the mother. And then to find out now, it's like he feels some kind of way because he helped her assist in suicide. He probably thought about that in the time that he's there, 3 years, and then now is reeling over that, and now he feels and hurting himself or whatever. Because to me, what would be the reason of him going to the cabin and bringing that up to his son, and then also the scene that we saw today with Gunther telling him in his manuscript.
That's gonna bum me out so much if this is what the writers are doing. But okay, yeah,
I mean, it
it's
definitely
possible.
seems like what they're doing, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And because, I mean, we see the scene of, when Helen caught him in the lake. Now we know that it was his dad running after him in the lake.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Noah, what did you do?
Right. Because of the mother.
I mean, spending 3 years in prison is going to make you think about the things that you did.
Sure.
And even if he was totally okay, obviously he's not totally okay, but you know what I mean? Even if he was like, this is the right thing to do, this is mercy, that it doesn't matter. If that happened to my mom and I was being merciful by helping her do that, I'm still gonna go through stuff in my mind, like,
Of course.
okay, because he did. He was going to college. It would have been easier for her to not be there, but that doesn't mean he wanted it to be that way. But that's not to say that thought never creeped into his mind. Like, you can't control your thoughts.
Right.
Who's to? And that is. So I'm sure he's. That stuff does come up. But I agree with you. I do think that is what they're doing, but I'm also like, really? That's what you're doing? I'm not
You're
that
just saying you're
pleased
just
with
not
it.
happy with the way it's going. I get you. And I feel the same way because you look at the magic of, season 1 and season 2, and then it seems like with this season they're getting away from that and making everything very, very convoluted. I agree with you. What's the French lady's name?
Juliet.
Juliet. I think she's a throwaway character.
Seems random now,
Seems
right?
very random. I mean, now it could be something. I mean, we see into the finale that there's something with that because they're in Paris or what have you.
And he does not seem mentally unstable.
Right.
Sort of.
Seems
Right.
A-okay?
Right. So I mean, maybe they're gonna, being that it's the finale and she's in the finale,
They're
there's got
gonna
to be
tie some
something
stuff,
with it.
yeah.
Something's gonna be tied together, and it may be like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
I really hope I say that. I
like
hope
we've seen in the
I
past.
do. Yeah.
Me too.
But I think the reason why it is the way it is like I said, they're putting the groundwork for going into the next season.
But I don't think
and
they
how
even
that's
knew
gonna
when
work.
they wrote season 3. I don't know if they really knew that, because look, we got the news for season 4 well into season 3.
I'm not sure they expected.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, you could. I mean, and like I said, in production, who knows? I think the bottom line is that the way this season is going, we obviously are not thrilled, but I think we should give it until next week before we cast our judgment.
yeah. No, I agree with you.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, shows are filming a lot of times when they start airing still. Now, typically it's with like bigger, like an ABC 20 episode show
Sure.
that that's still happening. But it's very possible that this was. I think of another show that I did an after show for that got canceled, and it was like mid-season, and then they changed the finale. They like went back and reshot it because they found out that they got canceled. So I'm sure that, you know, you write it in a certain way expecting that this is going to happen. I mean, obviously there are a million
Sure.
magical TV things that can happen.
Sure.
But I don't think that they wrote this thinking...
You don't think that they were building for the following season?
No, I do. I don't... That's what I'm saying. I don't think that... I think that they wrote it expecting to continue it. I don't think that they wrote it like...
Oh,
okay,
no,
well, this could be open-ended.
I totally believe that they were writing it for the continuation, because
Yeah.
to me that would only make sense. Because let's say this was the end and we were going to get the series finale next week,
be the
we would be like,
worst
right?
ever.
We'd be like, what the heck?
And
you
no
know?
one wants to end their... I don't think that... And I don't think that they're writing bad episodes. Absolutely not.
No.
I don't think that... I think it's still great. But I think that any showrunner knows this isn't like the how you end something.
Oh, no,
Sure,
for sure.
Sure.
Well,
And I think too, I mean, if you look at the merit of the complexity of the characters, you look at the acting itself, I mean, all of that is great. I mean, I think
Absolutely.
the show is magical in regard to that.
It. Dominic West
You know what I'm saying?
kills it tonight. Martin Tierney kills it. They all
smash
did.
it to pieces.
Yeah. They really did.
No, they did. They did. And that's, to me, the brilliance of the show. I mean, the acting is incredible.
Yeah.
And like I said, with the storyline, the way it's going, it's like, I don't really know, but I think I'm willing to still like see where they end it and then going forward, because I will say this particular episode did answer a lot of questions for me. I did like the fact that Helen basically spilled the beans about actually being there, because she's been holding this, and that's another reason. I mean, we saw both sides. We saw with Noah, with what he's been holding back with his mother, and how that's affected him like in his course of his life. And we see Helen holding back the information about killing Scotty, and how that's been affecting her since that happened, and her family, and her crazy parents, and all of that. My thing, just a side note, I like she locked them up and then like went and did a bunch of stuff. And they were like, are they still locked in there?
How did
like,
that,
We didn't get any resolve on that at
She
all.
went to Cherry's house. I feel like she went to Cherry's house twice.
She went to the bar.
And then she went to the bar in between that, talked to Alison. I'm
She
like,
had
her
a
poor
glass of
parents.
wine.
Her poor parents are just still in there. I mean, they got food, I guess, whatever.
Hopefully they got a key like that locked
Right.
up.
I just thought that was funny. I'm like, you didn't even go back. But
They're still in the panic
they're
room.
still in there right now, as we speak. So, I mean, I appreciate getting that. And that's what I feel like they've done in the past that was really good, is that they did kind of build. And then like the 8th, 9th, and 10th episode, it was like, oh, all these bombs.
I mean, we did get a lot of bombs,
Right,
for sure.
Right. And I think too, I mean, you got to think about where it was going into season 2, and then even going into this season, like the last season, it was huge because everything was culminating up to Scotty's murder, and we knew that it was building up to that, and then to finally get that information, 8, 9, and 10, that was huge. So I think also we look at how do you duplicate that? How do you go from there?
Yeah. But
we're
think about
expecting
where
that.
we were. Think about the end of last season.
Right.
It was like, is Noah going to do this? Is he going to do this?
Right.
What's going to happen with Allison? And now it's like, what?
Right.
It's all like,
No, it's
there's no
definitely
connection.
No, it's definitely
I mean,
different.
I'm saying the same thing over.
Right. Yeah.
But you know
It's
what I mean.
definitely different. It's definitely different. But I am curious to see how they end it. and what they also reveal, especially with the fact that we have Whitney in this episode. We haven't really seen a whole lot, and her old ass boyfriend.
Right. He's hot, but he's old.
He's old. And then with his little girl, French lady,
Juliet.
And then how that even comes together. It's like
Right.
the old people coming together. And so
And that needs love.
right. So the way, if they're going to end it like that, I'm like, okay, what are they going to do? I mean, I feel like they know what they're doing. So I'm just saying, I'm just
They
curious to
definitely
see.
know
like,
what they're. Yeah,
they know
I
what
know
they're
what they're
doing.
doing.
I'm just curious to see is how
Right.
it presented to us, how it's presented to us, and how we feel afterwards.
No one else was shown in the preview on purpose.
Of course. Of course.
1,000%. They're not going to make an entire finale about Noah and the French lady.
No, of course not.
Or will they?
Well, if they do, I mean, please don't.
I don't think they will. I will say though, not to get into predictions early, but whatever. That
pretty much
I do
there.
not believe, but I do not believe that we will see any more of Scotty.
No, I don't think so either. Mom.
I was like,
I don't think so.
did he just say that out loud? I was like,
I think you are correct. I have never
True.
agreed with you so
True.
fully. I don't think we will see any more of Scotty. Maybe we'll see him in a photo.
I was like, I'm surprised
Right,
that
right.
name just was even said out loud. I was like, really?
What?
Yeah.
No, the way things are going, I really think they're focusing so much heavily on Helen. Well, even just the three of them: Helen, Alison, and Noah.
Yeah.
So I
Cole?
don't.
Well, definitely not as heavily as the other.
Wait, did I say Scotty?
You said Scotty.
Oh shoot! That's why I'm like, why?
Okay, he
That's
meant
okay.
Cole, people.
I meant Cole.
You think we're not going to see Cole in the finale?
My mind was just like, what?
Why would he
That's
say
why-
that? Like,
why-
what meds is
That's
Lem
like-
on?
Exactly. I don't think so either.
We have never had dead air like that. I don't even know what to say. I'm like, no, we're definitely not going
I'm
to see
so
him.
sorry. Like,
I was like, he
what
just
do I-
made a joke. Of course we're not.
So you don't think we're going to see Cole anymore? That's what you meant to say.
That's what I meant to say. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I don't fully agree with that, but maybe.
I mean, just the way it's being ran. Of course, I could be wrong, but I just feel like this. We know now that we know that he stabbed himself.
Yeah.
I feel like not the only relevance, but the huge relevance that we were last left with was that the police were asking him about his whereabouts and questioning him, and he really didn't have a good alibi.
But he did.
But he did.
Right, but he didn't say. So
Which was weird.
Right. It was, yeah. So I think that because that was the last thing that was left and that's done with, and the fact that him and his, wife is still kind of like, I don't think that it would make sense on a finale
Yeah.
to go back to that.
But what reason would we have to see Allison then?
Just because they still keep introducing her with Helen. I'm not saying, and I'm not saying we'll see Alison either. I'm just saying that I feel like they focused. If you look at the trajectory of the entire season, they focused a lot on Helen. Most of it was Helen. If we look at, you can go back. It's
Yeah.
Helen and Noah, right?
For sure.
And then between the Helen and Noah, there was a lot of Alison inside of that. We didn't see as much. We did see Cole, of course, because whenever there was Alison, there was Cole and that whole situation. But I think going into like I said, a finale situation, I don't think there's any loose ends with
There's,
Cole.
I can, yeah. Like,
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
don't
there's
think
not,
that-
there's in the sense of if we were to leave the Alison Cole story as it is today,
Sure.
we
Pretty
could leave
wrapped
it
up.
Sure.
until season 4.
Sure.
I mean, not that I want them to leave it,
Right.
but we could easily do that and feel like, okay, things are percolating between those two.
There are definitely like, oh, Will Cole and Allison,
Right.
But everything else is kind of, okay,
What?
she has Joni.
Yeah.
Okay, we
Oh.
know that Cole did not kill or stab Noah.
No,
Right.
right.
All right, we good.
Right.
Like, we're kind of like,
Everything
little
else is
bow on them for now.
question marks over Helen and Noah. Questions.
Right.
Questions.
And again, it's just, I mean, who knows? But just the way that things are going.
I agree.
I do believe. I said Scotty. I didn't even realize.
We were like, what?
That's why I was like, Guardian Rest. Like, yes, Lem, that's exactly correct. I agree. And I'm like, wait, that didn't sound.
She never agreed with me. What's
that
happening?
didn't sound sincere. What did I say?
Okay, wait. What do y'all think of? Well, I know how we probably feel. What? I just know you that well. What do? Since Lem always disagreed with us, what do you think about Vic after tonight's episode, after seeing how the kids were, after seeing the things that the parents had to say about him. General thoughts. How do you feel?
I'm glad you brought that up. I think that there is going to be something more with him, especially given that last scene that him and Helen had, where she also admits that she killed Scotty. And first he's very cold, and he says himself, he's like, I'm an asshole, and he's always preached that. He's like, just so you know. And so I think that just on that last line, I did not think he was going to care at all until he was like, as she was turning away, he's like, I'm going to find you after I get off work. And so to me, that just showed that there was something, because I've told you guys I was not a fan of him at all. And so not to say I am now a fan, but I do believe that Helen does care for him tremendously. And that's why she went to him. Whether it was because she saw how much he did for her and her family, concerning the kids, when she's at her parents and they're like, oh yeah, he helped me do this and he helped me cook and he helped me play chess or whatever. Whether it was that or just she basically was like, I should not be fooling with Noah at all because he's no good for me. I really need him in my life. So it was almost like a plead with her. And I feel like she's pleading with everyone. And that's kind of just her thing. She just, and it's good that we saw what we saw, because I feel like, and she had some moments where it was like, I think I've overused this word, but I'm saying it again, epiphany, where she's just like, oh my gosh, this is why I am what I am. Or I keep making these same mistakes, just consistently. Even when we see the scene where we see the picture that looks like Noah but doesn't look like her, when they were younger, it was like, way back then, what if my life, if I had never met him? I feel like she's having these moments throughout this episode in her version. So going back to your original question, I do think that she needs him. I think she needs him, and then I think that he is going to be good for the family's stability in dealing with what's coming up next.
Yeah. I think that tonight was a great episode for all the Vic haters, which we all have been at some point. But I mean that in the sense of, think about how he first came into her life and how he was like, I don't want kids, or I don't know if he said I don't want kids, but, basically I don't want to deal with all this. I just, let's hook up, pretty much.
Right.
That's a very generalized version of what actually happened, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
Then to hear tonight about, Trevor, he taught me to cook this. I don't even know that Helen was, aware that he was doing all of these things.
And I think whether she was or not, she is at this point.
Exactly. And to see how, her family feels about him. But I also think that whenever she does go to him at the hospital, what's really important is her face when she turns around and he's like, and that's when he says, I'll come find you.
I'll find you after work.
But her face is kind of like, okay, good.
Yeah.
But it's almost like
relief.
Wait, is it in a genuine, because now I'm realizing that you are so great for me and that I love you? Or is it like, oh, thank God, because I just need somebody?
No, I think she's recognizing the truths in herself, finally. She's, coming to grips with the fact that these are the realities, and I think her sort of really, saying the honesty, saying the truth is kind of making everything else more real. And she's been living in, a bubble. She's, been creating this, everything is this way, everything is this way. Now it's, this, she can exhale on some level and let it go.
And I think it was a test too, because for her to admit what she did, and how she was scared and didn't want to go to jail because she's a coward and all these kind of things. I think for her, I agree with you that it's able for her to exhale, stop living this lie that she's been living, and also in seeing that this is a good dude.
Right.
Regardless of how it all started, he's a good guy.
Ultimately.
And he's done all of these things, and I'm just going to let it go. Over something that is not, because I think she just felt with the whole Noah situation. I mean, like I said, I was pulling for them to be together. I think I've changed that tune a little bit, just in the sense it's because Noah has still way too many hangups, and seeing Helen, and because I care for Helen so much, I want to see her happy, and I don't think Noah's going to do that for her, even though I love the family coming back together. But I think it's so broken with everything. I don't think that's even a possibility.
I think it's just not right at this point. I think that's what they're trying to show us.
Sure.
And a lot of shows do that. Of course, you always want the family to end up being together, even though I from the beginning have wanted it to be Noah and Alison, because I've said, but it's it's putting those people in the background, the kids and the extras.
Right.
When I think of just Noah and Alison, it's like, oh, I thought since the beginning that they just met at the wrong time, but ultimately they were probably meant to be together. But I think a lot of shows will just go there, or they'll just end up putting the family back together. And it's kind of like I would almost appreciate them showing that, like, okay, this is going to really, really, really suck.
Right.
And maybe Noah and Alison won't even end up together, but, like, it is possible for things to, like, heal from this and for people to be happy, because it's a realistic thing that happens thousands, millions of times every day. It's very sad, but it's like I appreciate them showing us that, like, okay, Helen could move on.
They'll realize their best selves this way. Like all this muckery is gonna lead them to the realities of what their lives are supposed to be. So a few tweets have happened. A couple regarding the whole Gunther stuff, so I just want to read them out loud. So at Slavin Carolyn, she wrote, Gunther represents Noah's subconscious and all the guilt he feels. None of it happened. He saw Gunther once, I bet, which I think is interesting. And then at Janie, Melissa said, Gunther is who Noah would have been if his mother lived. Noah is battling himself through Gunther. Interesting.
Great points, for sure.
Those are really
Interesting.
really good points, and very viable. I really just, to kind of sum everything up, I think that going forward, I think giving these, kind of epiphanies and seeing kind of digging really deep into the characters, especially with Noah and Helen, and kind of, and we've even seen this with Alison and Cole too, like not maybe as deep, but with Alison for sure, with her going back, was it last episode, is episode before last when she went, and helped out, and kind of was able to, find her purpose somewhat in life, and then with Cole feeling like there's something still there with Alison. I mean, we're seeing them reflect and kind of deal with their past selves, maybe their past demons, things that they've kind of shut away. And I appreciate, the writers giving us that. My thing is like, okay, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Like, where is it setting us up?
It's so open-ended.
Yeah,
There are a million
open-ended.
ways
Right, it
that
can
this
go.
show could go at this point.
So, but yeah,
I'm so excited.
I'm
Me too.
definitely curious as to where it's gonna go.
See, that's why it's so
going
good that we
forward.
do an after show, because if I had to watch this by myself, I'd be like, what the? I would be like, Twitter.
You'd be on Twitter
But
just
y'all
going like,
like
oh
made-
my God, I don't
y'all
know.
made me more calm. I'd be like, okay, wait, no, this is why
Right.
this is happening. Okay, good, because now I feel really good about it again.
And two, I mean, going back to Helen, I think we've said the whole guilt thing, but she harbors, because you even see it in the one scene when they go back to the lobster roll, which I was like, why are you there?
Go
What the
somewhere,
fuck?
go to Burger
Is that the
King,
only
honey.
place in Montauk?
Right.
It's
I feel like
the
she
only
wants to.
restaurant.
She wants to support the whole idea of like that family,
Right.
especially given.
Right.
I think
everything
it's like a
happened.
thing for her, like, oh, go back here because this happened.
Sure.
I mean, it's,
Yeah.
Like she doesn't need to buy 3 pies, but
Well,
she does.
she
She
did
wants
that
to
because
support the
she
family.
felt
Yeah.
guilty. That's
well,
all
she
guilt.
killed
It's all
Scotty,
guilt.
so of
She's
course
all
she feels
guilt.
guilty.
Absolutely.
I do have a question for you all, though. There was 2 attempts in her going to tell Cherry as far as what happened, the Lockhart's mom. And do you think that that is going to happen? Because Alison, when she was talking to Alison about it, Alison was adamant, like, I am not going to do that. I will not say that. And then she said something poignant. She says, what's the purpose of that?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, Scotty is gone. And so
And
nothing
they've all
is going to
healed,
break.
or they've
it's not
all
gonna
at
break-
least
well,
reached some resolve
right.
at some point. They,
And the
like
fact
someone went
that
to jail.
no one went to prison.
Yeah.
Justice in their minds was served. Okay, someone went. We got it. So I think that will open up old wounds, and that will bring a lot of animosity back up that doesn't need. So my question
it's
to
still
you,
just truth.
Sure,
It's
and
truth
that's where
over
Helen's at.
anything
It is truth. It is truth. But we are dealing with these families, and the Lockharts are not.
She doesn't necessarily know that.
She doesn't. She doesn't. But I guess my question is, do you think that she should tell Cherry?
No.
I'm gonna go with a big old no. I always.
What about the peace and blessings and honesty?
I know, peace, blessings, honesty. I fully am with that
Sure.
99.9% of the time.
Right.
But I just think at this point, she has
The
to. like,
wound has been sewed shut.
and
Do
she's
not.
got to almost be selfish in the sense of, okay, what
My
does
family.
happen if she reveals it? Her family's already
100%.
suffered.
Right.
I'm not condoning murder, but I'm saying I feel like she has suffered enough for what's happened. And I just don't think it would be, I think it would be selfish of her
Fully agree.
to say anything at this point.
Fully agree.
Okay.
But a huge scene tonight was when she and Allison were together, you know, was retelling this story of how we saw it in Allison's version last week. You know, totally different. Nighttime, Allison's are, you know, just weird.
Right.
But in her version, Allison tells her that she pushed Scotty, and that did not happen in Allison's version.
Well, in Allison's version, Helen didn't even want to talk about that
Exactly.
at all.
Right.
So it's interesting. Obviously, Allison's perspective is she's completely, like, she's closed that chapter. She does not want it to, like, or at least, I guess, in how she perceived Helen's opinion of it, it's a closed book. But in Helen's version,
it was
is
not.
Right.
I mean, because it was flat out in Allison's version, she did not say anything because Helen was like, no need to talk about it. And then in hers, it straight up was like, oh, I pushed Scotty.
Right.
I was there.
But I think
That's a
also
huge thing.
I think, but those are two different. You don't think they're two different time periods?
No,
either?
because the bits of the conversation were exactly the same.
Okay. I saw them as two. Maybe just because they were done on two different episodes, and maybe that's why I'm correlating that. But you're saying you feel like it's the same time frame.
Well, certain parts were exactly the same. Have you seen Noah? Yes, this just happened.
Why are you in town? That was that was different in both scenes. But anyway,
I guess I was taking that to mean it was just two different scenarios.
Yeah. Same scenes.
See, I thought it was the exact same scene.
It was. Well, it was in the sense of it was the same thing. It was separated into
versions.
2 weeks.
Okay. Let's get into predictions. Let's do that.
I feel like we've done that.
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
We have. But I do want to. Well, not necessarily. I want to talk about real quick. I'll go first because going forward, I think it's going to be for Helen's end. It's going to be very interesting going forward how the family, processes.
Yeah, for sure.
Her giving her the information.
Truth.
Yeah.
Exactly. So of course the parents are just, they're still locked up in the panic room. So of course they're going to be upset.
We won't see them again.
Right. But now the kids know what she did. Also, she tells, her boy what happened. And so obviously it sounds like he's still willing to be a part of, because he wants to look at her. But I'm just curious as to what's going to happen as a result, because the thing is, she's admitting this stuff. Will she go to jail? Like this is something that could be the case.
Yeah.
And I think that she was so at her wit's end with everything, especially I think it all came crashing down when she went to her parents because they always have a way of making her feel so small. Right. And so she just, harboring this for 3 years and then now, trying to process it and going through all these different ebbs and flow. And now she's at the culmination with her parents and her kids and she just can't take it anymore. So I'm not mad that she gave her truth. I'm not mad at that, but it is interesting to see what the repercussions of that truth is going to be as it plays out with her family. And with Noah, him having the epiphany at the very end that he stabbed himself, I feel like, and like I said, with my whole thing about Gunther, the whole information, the situation with him and Gunther not really being totally real, how he goes forward with that, information and how that has him. And maybe that's why he goes back to Juliet and they do something because now he feels like, oh, I've been tripping this whole time. I'm good. Let's go do what I do, and let's go holler at her. So it'll be interesting to see going forward. I'm excited about the season finale because I'm just very excited about what they're going to do to close out the season. But yeah, my thing is heavily on the Helen situation with the family.
I think it's going to be interesting next week. I'm curious if they don't jump X amount of months or something. Like if months have gone by from him realizing that he stabbed himself, because I'm hoping that he's gone to some kind of drug rehab facility and cleansed himself and had a lot of green juices and done a lot of yoga or whatever. Like I'm hoping he's very purged and cleansed. And I also hope that they kind of revisit the book that he wrote when he was in prison, because I hope that that's a storyline that they're going to explore into season 4, because I think that's going to also take us down a pathway of healing and him sort of coming full circle with everything that happened with his mother. Helen, I don't know. The thing is I think the family right now may not even believe her at this point. So I think, given the way that she sort of blurted it out at that, when they were at the table together, I mean, these are kids, so I think that they might be like, what? Huh? Like, there's a whole lot of conversation that needs to now happen for all those kids. And hopefully what that will lead to is a much better relationship with their dad, because that's been completely horrifying
Right.
all season because of what they thought went down.
Right.
And then, of course, I don't know, I think Cole and Allison, I think they've got a shot for season 4. Something funky is gonna happen. I don't know. I don't believe him.
Funky.
When he hugged Louisa last episode, I was kind of like,
You don't mean that hug.
I don't know. It just something is astray, and they're leaving us in a weird place.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they sew it back up.
They'll do
I'm sure they will. I think Noah, I completely agree with you in the sense of I pray to God he's gone somewhere. But I think Noah is obviously a very intelligent person. As soon as he realizes, oh, I'm seeing Gunther's face, but this is my face, and oh, I did this and whatever. I imagine that he will check him into somewhere. He seems in the preview that we see so okay that it seemed like he did. I don't think he just realized this and then automatically was like, oh, pain-free, I don't need this anymore.
Right.
It definitely seemed like there was a jump in what we saw. I'm still not necessarily happy where it, I'm like, oh, I would rather see other things than the Juliet stuff, but I do fully believe that there's a point to it. There's a point to everything. I agree in the sense of Allison and Cole. They definitely left that open-ended, but I don't know that we'll see them in the finale, only because it is kind of like pretty bow, wait for season 4.
Right.
I would love to see it, though. I would love for it to be part 1 Noah, part 2 Allison. Like, that's what I want it to be.
That's what you would want.
But with Helen, I think that that's what her thing was about this season. I say it all the time. What is the season about? I think it was about a different thing for each person, and we found out what hers was tonight. Will she tell them? What does she actually think about this? Whatever. I do think her kids would will end up having trouble with it, because it almost, according to how she's acted the rest of the season, it almost seems like something she would do just to get them to like them again, or to like Noah again. So I almost think they could be like, you're lying. You're saying this because you're trying to protect him. But I am so happy that she finally said it. I don't think that anything will end up happening to her as far as like legally wise. Obviously her kids, I don't think would say anything. Her parents are definitely not going to say anything. Right. I think she's going to like wise up. But I think just telling the people that she did will be enough. I think that it'll kind of, I don't know, work for her. But I'm really happy that she finally said it to them. Whether they'll believe it or not, whatever. But she just needed to do it.
There it is.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's been our show tonight. We want to thank you for tuning in and, rapping with us, because we're still trying to figure out what's going on. But we're excited about the season finale next week. Make sure you tune in, because we will have all the people on the panel here. Oh, yeah. And we'll be talking it up. And we definitely will make sure to have the live chat up so you can kind of converge with us and talk with us and figure out how we're this thing together.
Maybe cry with us. We don't really know.
Probably a lot of tears.
I know. I've been your host, Lem Gonsalves. You can find me always at The Poet Saint. Where you at?
I'm Alison Dean. You can find me at the Alison Dean.
And I'm April Whisenhant. Y'all can find me everywhere at April Whisenhant.
Until next week, we'll see you then.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.